Okay, so we're starting the recording for Zoom at the April Planning Board meeting. We were having some technical difficulties, so we're starting kind of in the middle of the meeting. We have covered we've called the meeting to order, called the roll. Everyone is present except for Mr. Craig, who's on vacation. And we have the applicants, the timber harvest person, or the application we're going to be reviewing in a moment. There were a couple of minor corrections to the minutes from the March meeting, which have been corrected, and the minutes were approved with those corrections. And we went through a review of the town meetings, town board, and code enforcement and comprehensive plans. So we're into our agenda now. We have no old business. Everything is tied up. We don't have anything outstanding. We did receive the final map for the Matthew Crane subdivision. And I signed that. And so that deal is complete. And so that was the only outstanding old business that we had. So we're right up to date. So we're coming to the meeting tonight. The new business is we have a timber harvest site plan application. The property owner is Lucinda Bonity, who lives in Corning, New York. And she has engaged Joe Crutchin from New Age Forestry to do the timber harvest. So since I thought I'd just refer to the code book here, timber harvesting is an authorized use in both the Honeoye Lakeshore District and the rural district. So if you wanted to look in the code, they are authorized activities. And the details are back in chapter 120, section 82. Timber harvest of over 10,000, well, we can look at it in a moment, but typically landowners who are having a timber harvest will engage a licensed forester. It's not required, but all of the ones, except one in my 20 years here, this is the second one, they have not. So that requires the site plan review from us. And it's fairly straightforward. And for background, I've spoken with Jeremy Frame, our highway superintendent, who's intimately interested in these kinds of things. I've had some pretty long discussions, and Joe has as well. And Joe has talked with our code enforcement officer. So everyone feels very confident in this application. And basically, I'm relying on Jeremy Frame, our highway superintendent. He has approved it. Well, he hasn't approved it officially. The application, as you see on the front, all of these people have to sign off on it. Okay, so usually I sign for the planning board because there's nothing to do, but in this case, we as a planning board will sign it first and then pass around, and the CEO and the highway superintendent and the town clerk, of course, would have a chance to review it and ask any questions. Like I said, we reviewed it together. Everybody's okay with it on board. So it's pretty much a formality, but it's a learning opportunity for us. So if you want to turn in your code book, if you brought it to chapter 120-82 about timber harvesting, because there is one thing we need to do here. It describes, if you look at item B under section 82, site plan approval is required. Basically, if there's 10,000 board feet or greater than 25 standard cords, 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet, then the applicant has to have the approval. Anything under that, they can just go ahead and do it. There's no requirement for any approval. And the main reason for requiring a timber harvest permit is environmental. A few years ago, we had a severe issue down on Lee Durkee's property when he owned it. They were doing a timber harvest. They had not registered it, and there was some major contamination. Dirt was going in, the gully was dirty, and muddy water was coming out into the lake. Nobody knew who it was, and it was caused a lot of confusion. And that's really the reason for having this requirement. So if something does go wrong, somebody knows about it, they know where it is, who the forester is, the landowner, and that's really the primary purpose of having this. Okay,
Let's,
Yes,
like what
go
I
ahead,
do
Joe.
a lot of times, if you got a ravine or a gully that's got existing water flowing through it. I put down a barrier like straw, a drainage net, everything else, so if you don't have that debris, and that's how it should be in any permits or anything, because the town of Canadice, you definitely gotta have it.
oh, yeah,
Because any
And
stream
then-
you cross or anything, you put a bridge in, you still got, even with a bridge, you gotta have the straw, then the netting and everything else, so you don't get the debris going down through into our public water, you
right,
know? And even when the job is completed, if you don't put proper water jackets in and everything, proper drainage in, you could have a totally mess when it's done,
if you have to cross streams and gullies.
yeah.
Okay, so, so that's the reason we're here, because the proposed, harvest is greater than 10,000 board feet. And if you move to site, section C, site plan application requirements, the first one says there's a written statement from a DEC forester is required. Well, to me, I mean, we haven't engaged one, so why would we be required to do that, especially since I talked in this case with the superintendent, the code enforcement officer. So I would like to propose that it does say here,
Can waive it.
planning board may waive this requirement if it finds that the slopes, forest type, other site characteristics is not necessary to protect the general health, safety, and welfare. So going over the maps and et cetera with Jeremy in particular, I feel confident that we could waive that. Now, maybe you want to look at the details before we do that.
And
Okay,
let me, I am forestry, I went to forestry right after come out of service, 4 years. Right? And the only difference between me and the DEC and a forester that goes through, I don't do state bids. So I don't get on the program to do state bids. And a lot of these guys that, like, Corey Figueroa, will get, cause I know him good.
Mhm.
The only reason he gets on it is a little publicity for his business. And also he does a lot of state bids and state work with the workers, the state. But I do a lot of commercial, you know, and residential.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel that over the years I
so we'll be looking
never got
for,
on.
we'll be looking for that as we review the map and the plan, okay? The other thing is that Ken is here as the agent for the owner. We have a notarized statement from the landowner authorizing Ken to act in her behalf. Since, okay, so that's why she doesn't have to be here tonight, the landowner. Okay,
Do you mean Joe?
Go.
yes.
I was
Who
like,
did I
wait,
say?
who's Ken?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm bad.
I was gonna ask.
Okay, Joe, it's right here in front of me. So we have that statement notarized with the landowner and Joe's signatures, authorizing him to act as her agent for this action.
Do we need to open any sort of public hearing or anything?
We're not required to have a public hearing, no, and so we don't have to do any of that.
Okay,
It's not detailed, we don't have to open a preliminary review or final, perhaps we should by motion, at least open the review, but we're not required to. So I guess I would ask to open this review of this timber harvest, so a motion.
I'll make a motion to open the review of this timber harvest application.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dwight, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So let's take a look at it. Lucinda Bonity, the property is 6219 Canadice Hill Road. And the information here, and then Joe's information, New Age Forestry, his address. The tax map number, plans to start May 1st and end by September 1st.
Oh,
May 12th.
we changed it on a contract.
Okay, this says expected dates.
Yeah, well, we
Yeah, that's
changed it. I can't start till the 12th. So.
That's
That's
fine.
fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
And again, put this copy in here regarding timber harvest from Cobra. Information that it says here is that it has to describe the details. So the next page describes, right? Size of the tract, about 40 acres. The property is on Canada's Hill Road, and it's one of those properties on the east side that goes east for about 400 feet before it goes downhill, okay? So the area, and we'll see that on the maps. You know, I could find a contour map on Encore, but I couldn't print it.
Yeah,
We
it was
did
the
the
same
same
for
thing.
me.
So it doesn't really drop off until way at the east end, and he's not planning to go quite that far. Okay. So about 40,000 board feet is his estimated harvest, doing it in the spring, Canada's Hill Road. He's going to use Canada's Hill Road as the transport highway. He's going to go north to 20A and then east, and he wasn't sure where he was going, but he gets us out of Canada. He's on County Road 37. So there are no dirt roads that are going to be upset or anything like that.
Is it part of Canada's Hill Road that's paved?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know where Ricky Belcher's property is?
Yeah.
It's just about across from Ricky Belcher.
Oh, it is, so it's that far up?
Yeah, it's quite a ways up.
Oh, yeah, mile.
Yeah, I got.
I don't know who else you know up there. You know where the Emerlings are?
Yeah, it's right near the Emerald.
With the big iron gates,
Oh, yeah, it's right.
just
Yeah.
north of that.
Oh, okay.
That kind of, and so all of that land on County Road 37, well, it's generally going downhill as it comes north. It's all flat as it goes east, all those properties. And so if you look at this map or this map, you can see the location of the house. I guess this didn't turn out too well, but this is the map that is from Encore. The one in the white is the outline, is the property. And so you can see the house is near the front. And then on this one, you can see the survey map, you can see he's planning to bring the timber out, stay south of the road of the house, and then hop onto the driveway and take it out the rest of the way to the road. Okay, that's his plan for moving the trees. All right, so the other things that are interesting to me, well, this one has the landowners, names of the contiguous properties. This one just shows, this is another Encore map that shows detail of the house property. But this is the one that's, to me, it's important, okay, because this shows detail of the property. So he's coming, his plan is to head east. And on this map, you can see there is a small gully. It runs slightly northeast. It's not a gully. He calls it a wet spot pretty much.
Yeah.
As it goes up there, he said eventually as it goes over the hill, it does become more of a gully, but where he's working, it's a wet spot. So his plan, back to this one, is to come in here, and where he shows he'll be going on both sides of that little wet spot. He won't be crossing it. However, he is going to put a slight culvert in right here where the two parts split out, just to be sure that he's not going to be into any of that wet spot. So his plan will be to work on the south side and then the north side, one or the other, not to cross that gully back and forth.
Right.
So that kind of relieves the need for any mesh or, straw or anything like that. So that's his plan. I guess at this point, I would open it up for questions.
Already we have this. Put down.
Okay, a sluice pipe, he's calling it.
Yeah, culvert.
Okay, turn your mic on, please, Steve, and go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, what species of trees for the most part? Probably the red oak?
Yeah.
Mm,
There's some soft maple in there that we're gonna take. but mostly oak.
There's not much white oak back there, is it? No.
Very little.
No. Okay, so most,
How many trees are 40,000?
Right around 400 trees.
So 300 on your application, right?
Yeah,
300 trees here.
yeah, close, a little over 300 trees.
Okay. These are approximates on this application. These are estimates. Yeah.
well, one thing you do have in your favor is the time of year you're doing it, because that'll help, unless we get these gully washers in
Oh,
the
yeah.
summer.
Well, in rainy weather, I do not work.
Yeah,
I
okay,
don't work on weekends. The guys like to,
Yeah.
I have to anyways.
yeah. At least in the summer, you got the weather in your favor up here. Yeah,
I have quite a few questions.
All right.
My first question is, on this sheet, if you refer to the percent steep slope, it's saying 51. I guess I'm not clear, is that 51% of the property? You're saying that the area affected is not a steep slope according to the contour line?
Yes, what he showed me on Encore,
Okay,
the steep slope starts east of where he's planning to cut. And I could see it on Encore, but I can't show
Yeah,
it.
it's not really that steep. It's just kind of just a downgrade hill.
She's saying the rating on the Encore,
Oh,
the information
yes.
says it's a
Correct.
51.
and this is saying, at one point, anything over, slopes over 30% need to be indicated, and then I guess I'm just confused because this is saying 51%.
Okay, yeah, I did not pick that up, so I don't know the answer to that.
So that was one thing that I was questioning, and this is not, I'm not meaning to question you, I just wanna protect, the town and the town's interest.
Right.
We don't get a lot of these applications, so you'll have to bear with me, I'm probably gonna have a lot of questions. So that was one question, and I guess that directly relates to my other question is, why wasn't this completed by one of the ones that was indicated at the top, but as you said in the code, we can waive that, but I guess that circles back to me with the slope question.
Okay.
And then my last question is just sort of relating to this form from
Yeah,
1999.
that's right.
If we need to take a look, this how is material to be removed question to me is worded very strangely. And it's not how you answered it, it's how the actual form is worded. I think it's meaning to say how much material is to be removed. Or what is the
Oh.
amount?
Yeah, because it says volume and or tree count in parentheses.
Yeah, so to me, that's just maybe an error on the
Oh,
form that
Okay,
maybe because we don't get these very often and this form is from 1999.
you never.
It's worth
it up.
reviewing to
Yeah.
make sure that, this is up to date. And in that same vein, when it says other permits that may be needed, it says New York State Highway Work Permit. But if this was on a county road, I assume they would need to get one from the county. And sorry, I'm back to page 1 here.
Yeah,
And you've spoken very closely with Jeremy, but I think it would be good practice
mhm,
to potentially have a town highway work permit listed on this form.
okay.
In
Yes.
case there was somebody else in this position, Ted, we don't want you to ever go anywhere. But eventually, I assume you may want to retire at some point. And I think it's just important to, sometimes things are just done a certain way for so long that they're
Right.
not actually
We don't
memorialized
look at it.
in code or in our forms. And I just want to make sure that we have a very clear process so
Yeah.
that things are done that way that they've always been done.
Out a little bit. I don't mind doing that for the town. I deal with, like I said, the town of Bristol Mountain, Bristol.
Mhm.
They have a really extensive application. And just like you was just saying, with the highway department
Yep.
and everything else and so on, It says that right in the form.
Yep.
And everything. Now, like all my trucks, not myself, but whoever trucks and logs is gotta put $1 million bond up.
Mhm.
And it says in that, and I don't mind dropping off, or you can notify them yourself. Talk to the code enforcement officer right over there, and they'll send you one of their applications updated, what they do around there. It might help you,
Yeah,
you know?
and I guess
Yeah,
I
good.
would defer to Jeremy whether he wants a bond or not, but sometimes a work permit is just memorializing,
Right.
like you said, you're gonna go a certain way. But there's nothing really in writing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you could decide, oh, it's shorter to go on this dirt road. And I understand you've said you're not gonna
Right.
do that, but there's nothing
Yeah,
There's nothing
preventing
You're
you from
correct.
doing
You-
that
You're correct.
in our application process. So, and
Yeah.
again, this isn't necessarily aimed at you. This is just the first time I've
Yeah,
seen one of these
right.
applications,
Right.
so.
And that's why
These are
a lot
things
of
that- Okay.
guys has to show a certificate of insurance and everything else, because if I tear up that road anywhere,
Yep,
my insurance gotta pay for it. You know,
yeah, but technically, we don't have
We don't have
anything
a
here that
requirement
protects
written.
us. This
Yeah.
insurance
Right.
certificate, we are not listed as an insurance holder, it's the property owner that's listed.
right.
right,
We are not additionally insured. So there's really nothing protecting the town here, should
Yeah,
you
I'll be
damage the
working-
road.
like
Yeah.
you said,
Good point.
if I was working, going off the road. You have no idea, when I know what you're coming from.
Yep.
Like the guys that truck our logs and everything else are Crooker's Trucking out of Bath, New York. They're a well-known trucking company. They will put them $1 million insurance and backs it right to you in a heart,
Yep,
you know?
Yep.
And I don't mind having them do that to you. You know, all I need is a fax number and have them fax you a thing. Insurance certificate.
I mean, technically, according to the way this is written, you aren't required to right now. I'm more concerned
Right.
about moving forward.
Yeah.
To make sure that we, again, this isn't necessarily, these aren't directed
Right.
at you right now.
So that's something that we should have in there, really.
I think this form from 1999
Yeah.
might need a little bit of review.
And who does that? Reviews form, is that something we would do or?
Yeah,
Typically.
we would typically look at one and refer it to a change, put together a changed document and submit it to the town board, say, we'd like the code to be changed to read this way.
We usually put together like a subcommittee, like
Yeah.
Birch just did. What did he just do?
Oh,
He did something.
most recently, we did the short-term rental.
Yeah, he's done one since
There
then.
was one
We
since then.
just did one recently.
Yeah.
But we did the short-term rental one, we
Yeah.
did the recreational vehicle one.
Right,
And this one, you know, is a little bit more nuanced, like I think we would definitely want to bring in the highway superintendent. And, you know, potentially somebody from the DEC too, there's a lot of
Right.
stuff that refers to them in this application, it gives us the right to waive it. But I think that this, you know, again, this is, and I don't mean to take up your guys' time because you guys are held accountable to how it's written today.
Sorry.
right.
So I'm
Yeah,
just
this
saying,
is what we gave them, so this is what they
yes,
have to.
so
we have to
they're
receive.
certainly not, you know, there was just things in here that jumped out at me.
Mhm.
The slope question is, you know, as it's written is 30%, so I do have that question.
And where is it 30%?
On page 3, which has the sketch map
Yeah.
form.
Okay.
C, it says that slopes over 30% need to be noted. And then, so why don't we do this? Let's pull up Encore on the computer
Yeah.
and let's look. I understand it was not printing well.
I couldn't print it at
So
all.
let's just pull it up and we can take a peek at it.
Okay.
And that
Yeah.
will just answer our question and we can.
All right,
Give me just 1 second here.
that's a good point. I did not realize that we had that on here.
On the west,
Hard-
east side of the property, way down below. it does get steep way down, I'm not going down there.
Well, then we just need that memorial.
Now we need to know where, yeah,
Right,
It's probably down on stats property.
it's probably all the way down to Marks, you know.
yeah, it's way down there.
Because the way the map was drawn, it's all the way to.
Right, the way this one is. Yeah,
And again, I understand you probably don't want long. But there's nothing
Well, I have,
preventing you.
I've had
doing that.
cliff signs down there.
that's 6219 Canada Hill Road.
Would it, would the top of Mark's property and the bottom of the owner's property here be about halfway down that hill? Or down the hill,
Yeah,
about halfway?
somewhere around there, yeah. See, I took it, there was survey pins all through that property. You know, old pins, like stakes. They must have bought that property, the people before that. You know, several pieces there.
Do you know how to find those?
I think so. I found the contours, there's just no, 1700.
Yeah, they're.
See, right,
1750, 1700.
It's exciting.
Hanging in there.
So we're.
Yeah.
So can you guys see the contour map?
You can.
No, sort of. I can't see all the lines, but I can see the 50 footers.
you know, that's the gloves. Right, yeah, you know, so anyways, down in here,
I had to go.
it gets
in
pretty
today
steep down
For
there.
my cleaning, my teeth cleaning, it's in the, like, Linden Avenue.
But this is all pretty much.
I'm telling you, the drive.
It looks like, it looks.
And there's so many,
It's
it's
just.
once in a great while, like maybe once a month, I'll drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing-
Yeah, that was out right now. Almost-
1700.
Yeah.
Tried it all the time.
Right, yeah.
Of course, it's not.
Yeah.
But it takes so much. So much of the stress.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
I
I've
had
never
to
seen
get there.
You don't have to worry about it.
You got your hours. I got my hours
Good
and
for
I.
you. I was.
Yeah.
And I sit in the kitchen and I look out on my
Yeah.
woods
Good.
and I look at my birds.
I'm a bird watcher.
I was at my ex's ex-wife's house another night, because she watched Kai for a few hours. So I went next room, and he was showing me, he used to have alpacas. Well, he got rid of the alpacas, and he took me down and showed me, and he's been doing it for years.
He had to put in our whole fantastic. She needs to get the Bristol forms.
He goes.
Yeah,
right
what
here.
they asked, yeah, get the Bristol forms.
Yeah, he got his
Compare it.
little office, and
We can print them.
Well, that's why.
Oh, that's. Oh, right.
Yeah, I couldn't print that.
desk somewhere. In his office.
Yeah.
It is. And how things have changed.
Yeah.
Because I've been off.
And the job that I had, every time I don't punch a clock.
Good for you.
I mean,
Good for you.
you know,
So we said it was.
I can sit down there in my bathroom at 7:30 or at 8:30 and
And you get paid for it at the end of the week.
that's right.
No?
That's right.
I mean, technically, the way the map is done.
Oh, boy, yeah. But I
That's-
never had that,
that's-
always had to be there.
Well, this was just since COVID.
Okay,
COVID, they moved everybody home
okay.
to work from home. And they never really, they moved some people back,
Okay.
you know, like 3 days a week or something like that, but. Still the majority of the workers are from home, so.
So
It's
still,
about 20%.
Yeah, see, we put the
So
video
still
on the
under-
rack
as
on
the map
bottom
is
of the
drawn,
building.
it's-
My God, you're
it's
very
still
perceptive.
under-
Stop. I check your place too every time I come by, okay?
She did.
Okay.
Well, she's a little smart.
So is he moved in yet? Still not.
Okay, so we got about a 20% slope.
Okay, yep, we've confirmed
So,
it is a 20%.
so this says 30%, anything greater than that. So we're okay, about 20%
All
is the slope at the back, at the east end. So it does drop a ways, but it's not more than what's allowed.
Okay.
So it doesn't allow, it doesn't require anything addition.
How does that factor in with a question Caitlin had on the formula about percent?
Well, we don't know where they got that.
Percentage of the steep
Yeah.
slope.
Yeah, it wasn't
I don't know
clear.
what that means, percentage of steep slope,
Is it percentage of the property?
property.
Property-
What do they
amount of
consider a
property
steep
is
slope?
Subjected to a slope, you know.
It wasn't, that wasn't
That's on
clear.
this one that we're looking at.
It doesn't say the degree of slope, just how much is subjected to a slope.
But it's not, yeah, and it's not clear what the degree of slope is, what the percent, yeah.
Right,
It was
right.
very unclear.
Yes,
right.
But we've
Okay, so we
confirmed
got
it to be about a
approximately
20%.
20% slope. So you couldn't put a driveway in, because a driveway can't be more than 15% in our town. 15% in our town, yeah. We've had to give, people have received variances on
Yeah.
driveways in the past. Because there are a lot of towns or a lot of driveways around here that are greater. So, okay, so that meets the steep slope. Your suggestion about looking at the application from the town of Bristol is a good one.
Yep.
And your
South
comments about updating the whole form and the way we do things here.
Yep.
Needs attention.
Yep.
Okay, great.
And Bristol Mountains in South Bristol technically.
Okay, it's South Bristol, so it's the town of
Yes,
South Bristol.
They have, we often refer to their code. It's very well written.
Yes.
Good question, Graham.
Okay, so. Let's see,
No seeker on this.
no seeker on this, which surprises me.
You wanted.
Oh,
read
you
it
wanted to read
aloud?
the word, read the, we'll have you do them next time.
He won't mind.
So between what's written in the code book, I guess at this point. Well, any other questions or discussion here?
Thank you.
It comes back to,
You learned me a little bit too, you know?
comes back to the question that in the code, it says. A written statement from a DEC forester or DEC conservation, a recognized cooperating consulting forester. Should have been asked for a written statement. Then it says the planning board may waive this requirement if it finds it slopes, check forest type, it's red oak. And or other site characteristics are such that having the statement is not necessary. So I guess I would ask for a motion to waive
I'd make a
chapter
motion.
120, section 82, C1.
See that again.
And you lost me there.
120, section 82, part C1.
Yeah.
We would waive that requirement
By a form.
by a licensed forester.
Okay,
And that gets back to this page on
at the top.
on the top here.
Right.
So we're not requiring that in this case. Again, it seems counterproductive here. If you have to go to them anyway to get a statement. But, I mean, maybe that's in this other application too. How do you handle that?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to rush us through here at all, okay?
I tried to, and then you threw all these numbers at, and I lost it. I was just gonna say,
I guess
go ahead.
my question would be, so as it's written, it says the planning board may waive this requirement if it finds that slopes, forest type, and or other site characteristics are such that having such a statement is not necessary to protect the general health, safety, and welfare of the community. My personal opinion is when we look at this application and this section, that we look at this in
Mhm.
more detail, I don't feel qualified to make that determination. I don't know what characteristics are such that they may not be necessary to protect the general health, safety, and welfare of the community. I'm not opposed to voting. It gives us the right now, the way it is written, and I'm not opposed to voting this application through. Again, I don't want to put them through undue hardship because our code wasn't
Yeah,
written well.
Yeah.
But when we look at this again, I'm not comfortable with that statement moving forward if we rewrite the code.
120.
We would need more information in there that helps
Yes.
us to make that determination.
It's another point
Yeah.
of,
I don't have enough
Clarification.
information.
right, they should list what characteristics they
Yes.
are that we should be referring to or considering.
Exactly, yeah. Like what is the slope? What is the forest type?
C1. Wording,
And again, I don't want to hold these guys
Yeah.
up because our code wasn't well
Okay.
written in nineteen
so
ninety-nine.
we got wording here, we got wording
My
here,
opinion.
got wording on insurance.
If you're not a state DEC officer, forest ranger, then like all these other consultants that they're out there doing this, even though they're on that program, you know, they're assigned into that program. I've seen some butcher jobs
Mhm.
and they don't care. You know, I think everybody ought to do this, except if you're working for the DEC itself,
Mhm.
you know, any.
And that's the
forestry
point,
consultant-
if we as a board or the town have to accept the fact that New York State has licensed these particular people. And authorize them to make those judgments. Whether they do it or not, and the
Right.
follow-up and the
That's what I'm
enforcement,
saying. I've
out of
seen-
our purview here,
Yeah, I've
but
seen.
they're good points. And
Yeah.
I've seen some timber harvest sites that, not necessarily in our town, but
Right,
they look pretty atrocious.
I have too.
Steve, okay, Steve,
I don't really think that the DEC performs that function where they,
well, it's a DEC license.
well, maybe a license, okay, I'm
Uh,
talking about a DEC, the DEC, say the DEC Forestry Department over in Avon, in Region 8, okay? They don't, they offer guidance, okay, you can ask, you can call over there anytime. You can have one of the DEC foresters on staff come out and they'll evaluate your property and
Right.
give you ideas, okay? But they don't manage a timber harvest per se. They might say, what, you know, you might want to do some cutting here and remove this species there and types of that, but they won't manage what we're looking at here.
Well, I
And-
think we're just
But it's-
asking them to fill out this form,
Yeah.
which they would take a look at the Encore
They
map
would look
and
at it, what
say,
we've looked at.
they would say, okay, that slope is fine. There's this
Yeah.
species of trees, maybe,
Yeah.
they would make recommendations.
Exactly.
Is what I think
Ex-
would be
yeah.
asking them.
I guess I just wanted to point out that
So if we
the
have more-
DEC employee
Well,
won't.
I mean,
manage.
it's like anything, we got a licensed engineer that's gonna design a septic system. Well,
Right.
We don't go out and design, we don't go out
Right.
and inspect it. He's licensed by the state and therefore it's the state's responsibility
Right,
that he's doing that job. Same thing here. He's licensed by the state, whether they work for DEC or whoever, but they have a license. And they're expected then to do all of the things that we're trying to do here.
right,
Right.
exactly.
So I think this is a great exercise for us.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe some more of these should come to us for site reviews
Yeah.
rather than a forester. But, so I've got three things here at least for wording upgrades on when we look at it. How's the product to be moved out? Are there insurance certificates that are necessary and required? The highway permit is what it would be, right?
Yeah.
To have, and I asked Jeremy that question, I said, he says he's gonna take them up 37, no problem, so. I'm referring to him, I'm deferring to him
Yeah.
in this
Mhm.
case, but if we could have it written. It would be better,
I agree.
and then this whole thing about waiving, if a waiver is given, what has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
To say we will waive those,
More specific
it's very
criteria.
general.
And as far as allowing New York State DEC licensed companies to come in and do timber harvest, we in general, we can always be more strict than New York State. We can never
Right.
be less strict. But should we
Yeah.
decide that we want to see more of these applications for whatever reason, if there are criteria we determine that we want to take a closer look
Yeah.
at them, then in general, you know, we would have to, of course, consult our attorney. But
Well,
in
yeah,
general,
we
we
could-
can be more
Yeah,
strict.
we could modify the code to not exempt any timber harvest.
Should
You know,
we,
basically, that's what we do now. They're exempt from planning board review if they've been approved by a licensed forester.
and maybe there's certain districts we want to take a closer look at, you know,
Yep.
maybe it's not all of them we need to take a look
Yeah.
at, but maybe there's certain criteria or districts or slopes or you know, water distance from the lakes, distance
Yes.
from water bodies, things like that, that we may want to take a
And like we've all said, we've got some big gullies in this town. We want to make sure those are protected. Yes,
I
Steve?
do believe though, in our discussions this evening, that we have addressed. You know, the points that are within this timber harvesting section, the
And-
120-82. And
I agree, and Caitlin just pointing out improvement opportunities.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, but
Yeah,
as
right.
it's written today.
As it's written
I think
today,
we've
they have-
addressed that,
They've met
Yes.
the requirements.
yes.
I would make a motion to approve.
Well,
the-
let's
Nope,
motion
sorry.
to do a waiver of that requirement
Okay.
first.
Yeah.
White is doing that.
Really want me to try it again?
Well,
Okay, make a motion to waive the DEC requirement
yep, for a written statement.
for a written statement.
That's satisfactory wording. Is there a second?
I second.
Caroline, any other discussion about it? All in favor?
Aye.
And my personal, I generally do not like to give waivers for anything. To me, that shouldn't, you know me, I always vote no against waivers, except in this case. I always vote
Wouldn't have
no
thought that,
against
Doug.
waivers,
Uh,
but it's there.
yeah,
So,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
So then, given that, we've met, I believe, we've met all, as you said, Steve, we've met the requirements, we've reviewed the points, all of the points that are listed on the application and in our code book. So are there any other things that we need or should? The last thing I wanted to point out is we do have a certificate of insurance from the landowner. So all of the activities are covered by the landowner's insurance till it gets to the road, obviously. So we have that.
That's our certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that covers, that.
Oh, this
covers
is your
roads and everything.
certificate.
Yes.
If I do any damage to the roads or
Okay.
anything in this township,
So this includes roads.
Yes.
oh yeah.
That includes everything.
But technically, we're not listed as a certificate holder, so
No, we're
we
not.
have we're not additionally insured. The additionally insured box is not checked. So even though you're paying for that coverage, and again, I'm not trying to pick you guys apart. I just am trying to protect the town's perspective.
Insurance certificate.
But again, that's not required.
Yeah,
The only requirement here is that we need the address of the insurance carrier. That is the only requirement,
and that's what we have.
and that's on there. So,
Yep, I included that in your handout.
yep,
And
so that,
everyone-
according to the 1999 form, we only need their address and that requirement has been met.
That was the last thing I wanted to mention, that we do have that insurance certificate. So,
And what are we saying this is for again specifically?
just, it insures against any. He's carrying insurance, so if there's any damage or issues that are covered by this insurance, which he says it's covering everything, and you can read it, then his insurance will pay for that. The town is not liable for it.
Because, let me give you a little, scenario. I was working in the town of Howard. I had that insurance. And they wanted me to update the insurance to them and everything, I gave them a certificate. One of the guys slid in the ditch. And they had to repair it, insurance paid.
Yeah. Okay, that's the kind of thing that would just cover.
So this again addresses roads. for the
And in
most
that
part.
instance, was the insurance certificate made out to the homeowner like this one is?
We only make them out if they ask for them.
Yeah.
If they don't ask for them, I mean, they're still covered.
See, I can
but-
get one for you for Here too, send it right to you.
And again, it's not technically required.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, technically, I suppose if there was some sort of damage, the town could sue the property owner and then her insurance would cover it, but that's. Nobody wants to go through that.
Right,
Yeah.
and this meets the
That's,
requirement.
it meets the requirement.
Meets
It
the
includes the
requirement.
address of the insurance.
It does
carrier,
include the address.
Which is the only.
Which is the
requirement.
requirement of the.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or thoughts, discussions?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, when
Well-
you look at section C, part C rather, and A through
yeah,
I, we've seemed to have spoken to
right.
most, if not all of them.
Yep.
Correct?
That's our responsibility, to
Yeah,
measure this application
that's-
against what our code.
and that's all we have is section basically C,
Yep,
part 1, A through I, those particular bullet points.
yes,
And
As the code is written,
As
they
the
have.
code-
yeah, as it
They
is today,
all
as
of
it
the
is today,
requirements.
yes.
okay, so let's have a motion to approve the timber harvest application of Lucinda Bonity with New Age Forestry to do the harvesting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Rich, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, so I'll sign it. I'll pass this on to the highway superintendent. He'll pass it on to the CEO. They'll pass it on to the town clerk. We'll let you, well, probably the CEO will know it,
Right,
because he has to give this.
I pretty much know.
Neither have I.
It's
Okay, so I'll sign it and put it in their inbox tomorrow. And
Yes.
well, you said you're not starting till the middle of May anyway, so you should have all your paperwork in plenty of time.
Yeah.
Certainly much better if it was happening in March.
I
Got my address.
don't
Or
know.
I can-
I don't do it.
You can.
I'm gonna pass this whole package on to the CEO.
Oh,
Either,
okay.
we're gonna do it.
All right,
One of us, and we're gonna do it internally and notify you
all right.
when everyone is approved. Okay,
Thank you so much for your time and your patience.
you're welcome.
No, thank you for your patience while
Thank you
we
for-
talk through that.
Patience.
Update you on everything.
Yeah.
Yep, they have a
We'll
lot.
take a look.
We
at that.
appreciate your
Yeah.
patience while we went through
I
that.
see me.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Close.
That was a learning experience,
It was.
you know, it really was. We haven't done one. I can't recall doing one.
I think I've done one.
Yeah, I
Was
can't-
I
You can't
on the
recall
board
it.
Before me.
Wait, I know it, I can't recall it
Okay.
though, Ted.
Back to our agenda, that was our only business. Do we have anything that anyone wants to bring up?
I have a couple items for privilege
Okay,
of the floor.
good.
One is you may have noticed as you're walking in the door in the vestibule, there's a gray bin. It is for confidential documents. If you have anything that you want to be shredded, the bin is locked. It's serviced by the same vendor that services the county's paper shredding events. But instead of having to go to an event, anytime town hall is open, you can drop your documents off. You may have seen me shoving things in the slot as you
What you
came
were
in
doing.
today. So that is always open. So please feel free
Yeah.
to take advantage of that. It's a great service. That's a partnership between the county and the town.
Does every town have a?
Every
bin?
town and city hall in Ontario County has one.
But anyone can walk in and.
But you can go to any facility. So if for some reason it's more convenient to go to another town or
And-
city hall, you can take advantage of any of those.
Okay,
The Ontario County Department of Sustainability and Solid Waste Management event calendar is in full swing. So there are a few spaces left for tires. That's this Saturday.
yeah,
Today registration opened for the mattress recycling event and the next paper shredding event. Again, I encourage you to take advantage of this program versus the event.
yeah.
Backyard composting kits are still for sale. There's still some of those available. And lastly, there's going to be some public engagement opportunities coming up. The county is working on updating their local solid waste management plan. As some of you may be aware, the Ontario County Board of Supervisors made a policy decision to end landfill operations in Ontario County post 2028. So the landfill will be closing. So the county is working on a plan. And that's similar to like a comprehensive plan. It's like a long 10-year planning period. And the county is going to be doing a lot of public engagement, both at the beginning, at the end, sort of similar to our comprehensive plan. We want to have a lot of public engagement when the plan is being written, so that there's the opportunity for people to give their feedback. So there's going to be a representative from each town. And typically they're asking people for maybe on a green committee. We don't have that sort of committee, so I'm sure Supervisor Vestola is going to be reaching out to the planning board, the zoning board, the town board. So there will be some questions provided ahead of time. And there should be a group from the town that meets to discuss the questions. And then a representative from the town will go to this stakeholder group.
That's all regarding the landfill.
It's gonna be like future, should the county have a composting
Oh.
facility? What's recycling look like? What do these special collection events look like? It's gonna be an overarching waste management.
Okay.
So garbage,
So what's-
recycling,
Yeah.
mattresses, tires, what's gonna happen with all of those types of materials? I will not be able to be the town representative since I work for that department. So I assume Supervisor Vestola may have some people in mind, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So hopefully we can have a lot of participation. I will attend the town piece just to take off my county hat and be a resident and a citizen of Canada who's interested. So just a heads up, that's going to be kind of an aggressive deadline. So I think that's going to take place next month, in the month of May.
All right, thank you.
So I think that's everything.
I think I forwarded everyone the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning session that's coming up May 30th. If there's some pretty good topics, if you're all available, it's an all-day thing. If you want to sign up, talk to Krista Hoover. She'll sign you up and pay the fee, so you don't have to pay and get reimbursed by the town. They just started taking applications, I think. They said, no, they're taking applications anyway. I don't know when it's at the college, Genesee Community, GCC, Genesee Community College. Rich and Caitlin are signed up. I'm not sure I might do that too. It's a good way to get all 4 hours, and some of the topics are somewhat interesting. This year.
Yeah, it looks
they
like
give
a
you a
really
lunch,
good list of
So,
topics.
you know,
And you can, it's 5.5 hours, so you
is it
can,
5.5?
you
Okay.
can roll that additional hour and a half into the next
To
year.
next year for training hours.
We just don't offer a nap time. That's-
Okay, with that. Anyone want to adjourn? Motion?
Make the motion to adjourn.
Dwight, there's a second.
I'll just record.
Second.
Caroline, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you all. Wait a minute, let me check the schedule. Is our May meeting a week early?
Is it the 19th?
I think it's a week early, isn't it?
What's that?
Next month's meeting.